Welcome to a fun episode that we're doing today, okay? Today we are changing it up a little bit and we're talking about the winter arc. All right, this is this trend that I've been seeing a little bit of, and I don't know, I love it. I love the idea of it. I was a little confused by it when I first started getting into it, but I did a lot of research. I now have an understanding, and so I feel like I wanted to talk about this, okay? Because winter is here and the season it brings cozy vibes with it, and obviously the holidays, but we're past all that now. So this can be a bit of a challenge because it causes us to kind of push back a little bit on our energy, our mood, our focus, all of that, right? It doesn't always seem to be at its highest in peak winter, but guess what? With the right mindset shifts, we can embrace this winter arc, and it's going to be filled with grace and intentionality and all of that. So that's what we're talking about today. So let's dive in, okay? Overall, for me, winter feels like a very slow season. The days are obviously so much shorter. I mean, it's getting like pitch black dark by 5:30 at night, and it just feels like everything's moving at a glacial pace. You have the holidays that break things up, so everyone is winding down. The month of December is usually not that productive from like a work thing, or honestly even like school. You have like finals and you're just done. And then you kind of have to revamp back up to normal life in January, and February is usually freezing. It's always snowy. I don't know. There's just something about it. But I also think that we can reframe this winter mindset into a season of slow, intentional growth, okay? Just like the trees are resting in winter and preparing the new blooms, we can use this time to recharge, to refocus, and instead of like forcing productivity, really choose to embrace a slow rhythm as an opportunity to reflect, to set meaningful goals, and to cultivate habits. And I love that word cultivate so much because when I think of the ground, you know what I mean? You don't just throw seeds on the ground and hope things plant. You really have to like cultivate the environment, cultivate the soil. And it's really, really sweet. So just like taking a moment before we really talk about the winter arc itself, of just like trying to figure out how can I nurture myself spiritually, emotionally, and physically during this season. And a great way to do that is to kind of do a winter reflection journal moment. So over the next couple of weeks, 3 months specifically, so that's going to be January, February, and March, just jot down a couple things you're grateful for, something you're learning, and an intention you have. Do this weekly. So a gratitude section, something you're learning, and then an intention for the week ahead. And I think that that will help align us on this really, really intentional growth period in a time that I think a lot of people look at as almost wasted. It doesn't feel like we're intentional in winter because the energy isn't there naturally. The days feel cut short, all of that. And so instead of viewing it as this time to just waste or rot away or whatever, really trying to embrace that slow growth. Okay. What the winter arc is it's kind of this idea of this social media trend that started with of romanticizing your life during this season, okay? Now, here is one of my most unpopular Christian opinions. I've got a few of them. But one of my most unpopular ones is a lot of Christians will push back hard on the romanticize your life thing. I get this all the time from people where they're like, oh, romanticizing your life is so unhealthy. You shouldn't do that as a Christian. And I hear where they're coming from. 100%. I understand that it kind of puts you in the main character energy moment where everything is about you, the world revolves around you. But I think it doesn't have to be that. And there are positives of romanticizing your life that are to be 100% used. Okay, so let's go with the definition of what it means to romanticize anything. It's to think about or describe something as being better, more attractive, or interesting than it actually is. All right. So you have this situation on your hands, and when you romanticize it, you're describing it or thinking about it in a way that is better than it is. Okay. Now, that in and of itself, I don't think is wrong. I don't think it is bad to make something seem better or more appealing than it actually is, because I think we see that in the Bible. And I'm going to point to Ecclesiastes for this, okay? Because Ecclesiastes 3:11, it talks about this, and I'm actually going to back it up to 3:10 too, where it says, or 3:11, he has made everything beautiful in its time. He has put eternity into man's heart so he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. Yet, God has made everything beautiful in its own time. I think that there is a practice to be made when it comes to romanticizing of allowing joy to seep in. And joy does not always come naturally to humans, especially me. That's something that I have to pray for all the time, is like, Lord, let me be joyful in this moment. Let me see your joy here in this situation, because it's not natural for me to constantly be like, yes, love this. Especially in the winter, especially when it's cold outside. Maybe we're at the point where the snow is no longer cute and fun. It's that gross slush that's been all over the road. And every time I have to go outside, I have to put a million layers on because the wind is howling and it is freezing all the time. My car tire pressure is low because the wind got so cold. And just going outside at all is a task and a chore. And it feels like you don't want to leave the house, but then you're getting the, winter blues, all of these things, right? Winter comes with all of that naturally. So I could sit here and talk about all of the things that I hate about winter, about cold weather, about the short days, or I can romanticize it and to think about it or describe it in a way that is more attractive, more interesting, better. And that, to me, is not wrong for Christians to do. That, to me, is something that honestly we should seek out, the beauty of things, because God has made things beautiful for their time. And when we focus on the negative, that's not helpful either. So instead of thinking about all those horrible things about winter, romanticize it a bit and picture lighting a candle, wrapping yourself in a cozy weighted blanket, sipping on a cup of peppermint tea while you are reading your Bible and diving into God's word. That sounds so much more pleasant, so much more intentional than all of those other things. So creating small rituals that feel special. You can turn these cold, dreary days and honestly like dark, just sad thoughts into genuine moments of joy. Okay, so a couple ways you can do this is, really cultivating a cozy morning routine that the first thing you do, maybe when you wake up and when you slide your feet into some slippers and you turn on some worship music. If you have a speaker, even better. I have an Alexa. I turn on some worship music in our kitchen, so it's playing as I'm going throughout the house doing my thing and sitting there and making a delicious breakfast. That right there just took a very chilly morning that you could have chosen to stay in bed and scroll on TikTok into something where there's purpose and it's cozy and it is romanticized, okay? Choosing to go outside and walk even when it's cold, okay? You can dread that. You can sit there and think this is so stupid. It's so freezing outside. I can't go and complain about it. Or you bundle up in your cutest coat with a chic sweater, a cute little beanie, put some gloves on, and then you listen to a podcast, or maybe you walk and just pray, whatever it looks like for you. You're embracing, romanticizing something that could be viewed as an annoyance, a negativity, and you're really describing it to yourself. You're selling it to yourself as something better so you can continue healthy habits even when you don't want to. All right? So that's all really, really important. So one actionable step out of this is I think you can create a winter self-care night because, oh my gosh, this might just be me thing, but I hate showering in the winter. Which is so random. But I don't want to get in because I'm freezing and I hate the idea of wet hair and I hate the idea of being cold underwater. And it's just like there is something about showering in the winter that completely turns me off. I hate the idea of it. However, you have to kind of reframe it a little bit and it's going to be an experience you enjoy. Again, some music, some candles. You have this plan. Maybe you're going to do your nails. Maybe you're going to do a hair mask. Whatever it looks like, you get to create this winter self-care night and romanticize it. And guess what? You're now following through on things that are taking care of you rather than just continuing down a dark seasonal depression, genuinely, okay? So let's be real. Winter is still going to bring its challenges, even when we have this, system in place of choosing to romanticize those moments, because there are health struggles a winter long. There are the winter blues. There's a busyness aspect that you can't avoid, where in the summer it feels maybe a little bit more enjoyable. So these are 3 mindsets that I really want you to actively shift to help navigate in these seasons. Okay. So number 1, I'm stuck inside turns into I'm creating a sanctuary. All right. Your home can be a space of peace and creativity and worship. So rearrange a room, maybe decorate a little bit, keep your favorite books or devotionals nearby, whatever it looks like for you. Instead of viewing this as I'm stuck inside, I can't go out, I don't want to go out, anything like that. Really shift it and to this place of I'm creating a sanctuary. I'm creating a place of creativity, of rest, of peace, of worship, of all of these beautiful things. I'm doing that with my space. That's powerful. The next one is it's so cold and dark. God's design is so purposeful for each season. When we kind of pull ourselves out of it all revolves around us, which is the toxic side of romanticizing things, and we remember that there's a reason for winter. God designed this season for a reason, and how winter mirrors rest and preparation. We get to kind of lean into trust that this season has more meaning, okay? And then the third one, I'm overwhelmed or I'm stressed out or I'm exhausted. We're going to shift that to I'm choosing presence. Prioritizing what matters most and giving ourselves permission to let go of perfection, especially in this season, especially in the time post-January. We all have these goals. We're all working towards things, but maybe mentally or even physically, we're not feeling that yet. We're not feeling the permission to let go of perfection. So we are going to actively choose to be present. We're not going to be sitting there wishing our lives away, wishing things were different. We're going to choose to be present in the moment. Okay. So I think that a great verse, if this is something you genuinely struggle with to memorize for this, is going to be Ecclesiastes 3:1. It says, there is a time for everything, a season for every activity under the heavens. Okay. There is a time for you to seek performance, for you to actively strive to be better. And if you're not in that season, that's okay, because there's a time for that later in your life, or maybe you just left that season. But maybe right now you're in a season where you need to create a sanctuary and you need to remember that God designed the season with a purpose and that you're choosing presence. All right. That's just really, really important. So I hope that this winter arc is a beautiful chapter in your story. It's a time to slow down. It's a time to romanticize little things like a hot cup of tea and to seek to grow intentionally, even if that just means shifting your mindset to where it needs to be, because every season has a purpose and you are exactly where you need to be. And even if it's not where you want to be, that's okay. Choose to be present. I would love to hear how you're embracing the winter season. So feel free. There's this feature on Spotify where you can leave comments and all the things. And then if you're feeling super generous and like you have maybe an extra few minutes on your hands, I would really appreciate if you left a review for the podcast. If I always try to save this ask for the end so it doesn't bug you, but just leaving a review, Spotify, Apple, or if you've read the book, leaving a review on Amazon for the book, it means the world to me and it's really, really sweet. So until next time, I hope you stay inspired, live abundantly, and continue to glorify Him in every season.